So you have found an unoccupied cubicle with an empty desk and a generic IP phone. So the phone is plugged in and working, so you know the network drop is active, and we will drop our small laptop running Kali here and continue the attack from the outside. So first we unplug the IP phone so that our bad guy can take the port, and we are then going to clone the MAC address of the IP phone on our Kali box Ethernet port. From the perspective of simple MAC address whitelisting methodology of NAC, this will look like the phone merely rebooted. So here I use ifconfig to bring up the interface configuration, but first let's actually increase the font size a little bit so you can see better. Here, now actually let's make here, and I also want to add the margins here, which is I think has to be somewhere here. If it's not, it's also okay. I think you can see clearly here. Yes. Terminal, yes. And here, this is our terminal margin, and we can make it like 50 pixel. And here, so now let's use the ifconfig here, ifconfig, and here you are seeing Gromit. Actually, let me open my Gromit here, and this is our marker which we're gonna use. And here, as you can see here, that in my example, my Ethernet port interface is called ETH0, and my wireless interface, which I don't have wireless interface right now, but if you have, it's gonna be called the WLAN here. Let me write it. WLAN 0, the first wireless card. And I will note this for later, as I will need to configure the system to run access point with a dynamic host configuration protocol, DHCP, and the domain name system, which is DNS. And here on the actual WLAN, which I will add my card later. And while running the network address translation through my Ethernet 0 interface, and I can use ifconfig here. Let's actually do this. So I can use the ifconfig the ETH0, which is my Ethernet card, HW Ether. So here I use this to change the physical address of the Ethernet interface. So I sneaked a peek at the label on the back of the IP phone, and the MAC address is here. See here, the MAC address is, as you can see here, lob slib sh tpp arcnet sit and so on. So actually this here ifconfig ETH0 and Ether. And as you can see here, we got several informations here. This is hardware type, a list of possible hardware types. Here we have usages of how this works, and so on. And let's now run the ifconfig command. And as you can see here, we have the Ethernet MAC address. So now let's bring the interface with this. So we're gonna use so we have to be the sudo, the super user of the system, to use this command. Now let's use the sudo s and enter your password. And here, as you can see here, we, instead of using Oxal account, which is a separate account, and this is our machine computer name, we came into the root account, which we are working on a directory of home Kali, but you actually learned this in lectures. So ifconfig ETH0, and here we are seeing our Ethernet MAC address like inet address, this is a local net mask, broadcast, and so on. Now after that we will use ifconfig eth0 down. And here I will explain all of this later, but first let's write this config eth0 w other, and let's change our, as you can see here, our disconnected, we had the label disconnected from the internet, see here, but we will enable it. But now firstly hw ether, and we will enter our MAC address that we want to use, which in this case like be something like AACCBB or something like 989221 and lastly 1A. And here after that we will enable our Ethernet 0 interface. So ifconfig eth0 and up. As you can see here, our internet came live here. So now we'll use ifconfig eth0, and as you can see here, our MAC address is changed.